All right, a deep sturdy ashtray. All right, you don't want to keep the ashtray on the couch, on the shoulder of the couch, the armrest, or anything like that. All right, you want to keep it on the table. Also, also, when you put in the ashtray out, make sure you put some water in that ashtray to make sure that the butts are completely out, right? Don't smoke while you're on medication that makes you drowsy, right? You don't want to smoke and you take a medication that makes you drowsy.
I didn't know
There's
that.
common sense reasoning.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you smoking and you had your medication maybe 30 minutes earlier, you get drowsy. The cigarette falls out your hand while you're sitting watching TV, something onto the couch. You start a fire, right? You might drop some ash into the couch, and you're not cognizant of that, and that starts a fire, right? So you don't want to, if you're on medication that makes you drowsy, don't smoke while you're on those medications. Also, when you have a little libation before you go to bed, or you have a little dinner, you drink some wine, you don't want to smoke either, and especially if you're on medication, right? Because it's the same reason. You get drowsy, you might be sitting, hanging out, talking, and you drowse off. Cigarette butts fall into the couch, smolders, and that could start a fire. All right? And I want to reiterate, when you're getting rid of the ashes into the garbage, you want to make sure and put water into that ashtray to make sure everything is out. You don't want to put the ashes into the garbage, right, thinking there's everything out, and you have a button there that's still lit, and you're going to start a fire, right? You might throw it in there, walk away, and then go to bed or something like that, or go out to shopping, and come back, and the entire house or the apartment is on fire. So you want to make sure and put some water in there, at least maybe an inch of water inside that ashtray before you put the ashes out in the garbage. Scented candles, right? We all buy the scented candles now to make the house smell pretty good, right? The same thing. You don't want to leave an open flame unattended. If you're not in the room, or you have pets, especially if you have pets, cat, dogs, you want to secure that candle or put it out before you leave the room. If you're going to light it up, put it inside of a bowl or a dish with water at the bottom, just in case it tips over. You don't want to put it close to on the table next to the window curtains or some kind of furniture or clutter or anything like that. You want to keep at least maybe a 3-foot radius clear of any clutter or any kind of linen or anything like that, so it doesn't accidentally get caught on fire. Cooking, right? Cooking's the seasonal right now. Everyone cooking up for the holidays. You don't want to have your kids playing in the kitchen when you're cooking, all right? And common sense reasoning again. Kids, they're very curious. They're not aware of the dangers of the stove and the stuff, the hot stuff you might have on the stove. They come to the kitchen, they're playing. They might pull something off the stove. They might open up that oven and put their hands on that hot oven door, right? Even worse, they might pull open the oven and try to stand on it, right? Rather than burning themselves or pulling everything onto them and on top of them. So you want to keep the kids out of the kitchen. If when you're cooking, you want to have some items laying around. You want to have a good oven mitt, right? You want to make sure you have an oven mitt maybe on the counter. You want to have baking soda, all right? Regular household baking soda that you stick in the refrigerator. You want to have maybe a box of that laying around. You also want to have a lid that fits the pot you're going to be using, right? A nice tight fitting lid. And the reason for that, in case you have like a grease fire, all right? If you have a grease fire, our instinct is to grab that pot and try to put it in the sink. All right? That's a big no-no. All right? You put water in grease, you know what happens. It flares up, it spread the fire, it might splatter the hot oil and the flame onto yourself and start a fire, cause the fire to spread, cause the cabinets to go on fire. So you don't want to do that, which is our natural instinct, is to put it in that sink, right? So you want to have those 3 items close at hand. The first thing you want to do if there is a grease fire is turn the oven off, right? You turn that burner off, actually. right? That's the very first thing. You turn the burner off. The next thing you want to do is to put on that oven mitt, and then grab that pot lid if you have it close in hand, and you want to cover that pot. All right, that's all you have to do. Nothing else. All right. All fire needs is a source is oxygen, heat, and fuel, right? So if you cover that flame, you're separating the oxygen away from the heat and the flame, and you're going to smother the fire. All right. If let's say you forgot to have that pot lid, but you do have the baking soda, right? All you have to do is just sprinkle that baking soda over that grease fire, all right? The baking soda is going to smother the fire and cool it, all right? And it's going to put it out. And the same ingredients that's in those little portable fire extinguishers is baking soda, all right? That's in those fire extinguishers is baking soda, all right? So those is who goes out and buy those fire extinguishers and stick it underneath the kitchen sink, thinking that we might use it if something happens, right? And if something do happens, we totally forget that it's underneath the sink. Or if we do remember, there's so much other stuff in there we can't get there. And by the time we get there, the fire is too far gone, right? So if you do buy those fire extinguishers, guys, you want to have it in a visible area in the kitchen. All right, you want to have it hanging on the wall or maybe on the counter where it's visible. That way you can always have access to it. Don't stick it underneath in the cabinet, underneath the cabinet. All right. Again, what is this? Baking soda is all you need to put that fire out. All right. Again, with the pots on the stove, when you're cooking, you want to turn the handles of the pot inwards, all right? Don't leave it hanging out. And again, common sense reasoning, right? The pot handle is hanging over, you might drop something on the floor. Let's say you have a kitchen towel on your shoulder and it drops, bend down to pick it up, that pot handle is sticking over, you come up, you knock your handle over, you may not start a fire, but you definitely might burn yourself. You don't want to burn yourself. Burns are very disfiguring, painful, takes you to the burn center for a while, so and very costly, right? So you don't want to start to get burned or something like that. You want to turn the pot handles in towards the stove, all right? You don't ever want to leave it sticking out. All right, I just lost my train of thought.
Baking soda and pan.
I got it, right? When say you cooking again, and let's say you have all the stuff, and you're not starting a fire, but you're creating smoke, and the smoke detector goes up, right? Because we all have a smoke detector, right? If you live in New York City, it's a law, you have to have that smoke detector. Unfortunately, most of us have the smoke detector in the kitchen, all right? It's not a good idea to have it in the kitchen, all right? Where you want to have the smoke detector, you want to have it in the hallways, well, at least maybe within 10 feet of the sleeping quarters, right? And in the bedrooms, all right? If you live in a house, you want to have it on each level of the house, including the basement, okay? So your smoke detectors, if you have it in the kitchen, you might want to relocate it. Because again, every time we're cooking and a little smoke goes off, we go up and we take it down, we put it on the counter, and what we forget to do, put it back up, right? Some of us even go as far because we can't silence it, we take the battery out, all right? And then we forget to put the battery in and put it back up on the wall. So in order to avoid that, all right, because a smoke detector is what you need in the room for that early warning. If you have it and it's not up on the wall and not functioning because the battery is out, it's not doing you any good, right? So you want to be able to have the smoke detector functioning. So if it's in the kitchen, relocate it in the hallways that lead into the sleeping quarters, and you must have also put one in the bedrooms, all right? Again, so for that smoke detectors, you also have to know that it's working. So you want to test it at least once a month, and change the batteries if you have the older ones at least twice a year. So we recommend changing the battery whenever you change the clock for daylight saving. That's when you change the batteries. All right, guys, and test it once a month. All right. if you have the newer detectors, right? If you buy one within the last 2 years, is you probably have one that's a 10-year, have a 10-year lithium battery in it that you do not ever need to change a battery. It's supposed to last 10 years, and once the 10 years is up, they're going to alert you to that you need to replace it. There's no more change in batteries if you have the newer ones. All right. However, you still have to test it once a month, and the only way to test that is by pressing that button to make sure it's working. Because you may have it the 10-year one, and it might be more than 10 years, or it might have been on the shelf for X amount of years, and then by you buying it, you have it for another 3 years, and it expired. All right. So you want to test it once a month to make sure it's functioning. All right. If it chirps and telling you that it needs to replace it, you go ahead and replace it. Don't wait, all right? Because again, the smoke detector is what you have that could give you that early warning in case something happens and give you time to get out, all right? For the Christmas season, right? Everyone gets the Christmas trees, and we decorate it and stuff like that, and we think it's all good. But Christmas trees starts a lot of fires in the winter time, because people put a lot of lights on there. If they have the real trees, they don't water it enough, or they might have thought that they bought a fresh tree from off the lot, and they got home and the tree's already dying, and they're not aware of it because they don't know how to test to see how fresh it is. All right. So, easy step to make sure you're buying the fresh tree off the lot is that before you buy it, you try and you grab onto one of the branches and you pull on it with your closed palm and see how much pine needles comes off in your hand. If an excessive amount of pine needles fall off, the tree is dry. You should get another tree, right? But if you get a fresh tree, once you get it home, you have to water that tree every day. Make sure you have water in that tree. Make sure you check that tree to make sure it has water in it. And believe it or not, the trees drinks a lot of water. And if you bring it home and you water it one time, in 2 days' time, the bottom of the hole is going to be empty, and the tree is going to start drying out. So you want to keep fresh water in there. You don't have to put any additives, right? So it's just regular tap water, all right, warm water. You don't have to put any additives. You know, the stores sell you all kind of crap to put in there. No salt, sugar, anything like that. Just regular water. All right. However, you still have to always check the tree to make sure it's not drying out by pulling on those leaves, on the pine needles, right? If it's getting dry, it's time to replace it or throw it out. Don't leave the tree lights on the tree while you're away from the house or when you're going to sleep. All right. Don't leave it on. You're going to bed, turn the lights off. You're leaving the house, no one's going to be home, turn the lights off, all right? When you're wiring up the trees, if you have to use extension cords, make sure you get the proper type of extension cords, all right? Make sure it has that on the right, there's a laboratory trademark logo on the extension cords, all right? Make sure it's rated for the Christmas tree, okay? Again, you have to always check in on the tree to make sure it's not dried out. If you have the artificial tree, before you buy it, make sure it says on there that it's a fire retardant Christmas tree. All right? So that's going to help prevent it from getting on fire or getting overheated from the lamps on there, the lights. All right? Again, you want to have a fire escape plan